So, hello, my name is Jorge Pinilla Lopez, and I'm going to talk about just agriculture 4.0. So the use of big data, IoT, and these new technologies into the agriculture like environment. So we're going to talk about first a little bit who I am. Okay, we're going to talk about big data, or what we consider big data in this small world. We're going to talk about agriculture, and then I'm going to give 3 examples of 3 projects that we are doing. We're actually doing to implement this kind of technology into agriculture, like actually projects. So first, I'm Jorge Peña Lopez. I work as assistant engineer here in Sydney. Okay, but I also work remotely as a researcher for the Advanced Information System Laboratory of the University of Zaragoza in Spain, and also the IT manager of the SRAP. So what is big data? Big data. There's a big quote like big data is this thing that everyone wants. Okay, some people say they do. No one actually knows what it is. So I like this quote a lot by Sergio Lari, which is one of the professors at the University of Zaragoza in Spain. What is big data for it is an amount of data, okay, is so complex or so large that we can actually not process through traditional means. So it gives a point of a perspective point, okay? So what is big data for me? It might not be big data for you, because you might be able to actually process it. You might be actually have the tools to process it. And I like this quote a lot, because as you might see, okay, some years ago, we have these tapes. You know how much information these tapes have? Like 48 kilobytes, okay? So at that time, anything which is actually larger than 48 kilobytes was considered big data. Why? Because we couldn't process it. We could not read it. Okay, it was really, there's no traditional ways to actually be able to handle so much data. So let's go to agriculture area. Okay, in agriculture, how do we measure? How do we get the data? Well, notebooks, pen and paper. Okay, and that's literally the first way they actually write data. Now we're going to a little bit more advanced, okay, and we actually get like Word, okay, notepads, okay, we got some like unstructured kind of data. And then we try to move a bit further, one step further, and we get to Excels, okay? What happens when we can actually not use Excel? What happens when we have such amount of data that we can actually not process it with Excel? We go to even more complex tools, such as like Python, Power BI, Tableau, QLink, okay, or even like geographical like tools. So Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 is the use of technology and big data into industrial processes, trying to make it more and more specialized and efficient, okay? But it's been there for quite a long. So is it the same than agriculture in 4.0? No, agriculture in 4.0 is something that's really recent, and we're experiencing a lot of like problems and difficulties that industry didn't have at the time, okay? For example, we have hardware problems, we have network, okay? 2G in a field, maybe 3G, probably not. 4G and 5G is just a joke. You don't find actually proper like network infrastructure. You don't have proper electricity, okay? So you need batteries that last for months. You need solar plants. You need you need all alternative ways, okay? And of course, we are not in a warehouse. We are not closed. We actually have wear and tear. So like this really big photo. So we have stones. We had to prepare our devices so we can support like a lot of kinds of conditions. And then we have the technology, the data kind of problems. Okay. So first, we don't have a formula about how to make the fields go perfect. There is no way to actually know what's affecting your field. So there's a lot of unknown variables. We don't know, for example, if you need more water. We don't know, for example, how much it's going to rain. We don't know how much sun they're going to get. Another problem is there's multiple processes. There's multiple ways of doing things, okay? So for example, as you may see in wine, okay, wine is the same product, okay, even if they use the same grapes, there's a time of variety of wines. Every single wine is different, even if it's the same process, okay, all of them are different. So there is no standardization. And of course, there is no studies about absolutely every single factor, how they impact the quality. Of course, the last thing we have is unexpected changes. Okay, for example, okay, we have viruses that may affect our agriculture, and may affect our animals. Okay, we have dries and we have floods. That's actually also something we cannot control, and that's affecting our experiments, and that's affecting our data. The last problem that we do have is the time it takes to actually measure results is really long. So we need to wait for actually get the crops like grown, and that's literally seasons that usually takes like 1 year. So be able to get a long actually measurement for a lot of years and constant measurement, so it's actually statistical proven that what you do is right, it takes a long time. So I'm gonna talk about the cycle of meat production, okay? And I'm gonna talk about 3 projects that we've been doing and the ways that we've been integrating technology into agriculture, especially into like meat production. First of them is the use of big data in IoT in alfalfa quality. So alfalfa is the food actually animals eat. So we're trying to increase and measure how much quality that alfalfa has. The second one is the bovine tracking in extensive like bovine farming. So since we create the animal for the food, then we take care of the animals and we make them grow. Okay, and in this project, we are actually trying to help the farmers by GPS tracking the cows in really long really large fields, which is actually saving a lot of time for the farmers. And the last time is actually when it gets to our table. Okay, so it's a meat price recommendation algorithm that we're actually currently implementing in the Binefa market in Spain. So those are like the 3 projects I'm gonna try to talk a little bit about. First of them is the big data and IoT in alfalfa quality. So the first idea is there is no model, there's no agreement about alfalfa quality, okay? And we don't really know which is affecting that alfalfa quality. So we got a project about trying to find those parameters that like produce that quality and trying to measure them. So we know beforehand if it's gonna be good or it's not really gonna be good. So what we're gonna do is we first did an analysis of the actual situation, okay, by measuring like the alfalfa, measuring what they do, okay. So we got like models of the processes that they did. So it's like we had to know when they cut alfalfa, we had to know which treatments they did to the alfalfa. So we need to get analysis of all the variables because, as I said, we don't really know what's affecting it. So we need to get all possibilities, so we get a brainstorming of what's actually affecting and impacting the quality. And the first, which is actually the most important final step, was actually the creation of like new variables to measure that quality. Okay, so we try to, after getting data, we try to get new alfalfa qualities, okay? And we identify 3 ways of getting this quality. First of them is getting the tracking of the alfalfa, okay, along like everything that they did. So for example, what we did is we create these GPS tracking devices that was able to actually track the alfalfa containers, okay, from point to point. So we knew how long the alfalfa were in each location, and we can actually cross-relate that data with, for example, material weather like data, okay, and we could know more or less which path and how long the alfalfa was in each place. The second one we got was actually trying to use real-time indicators, okay? So let's gonna go one step further. Let's gonna try to actually get a really general, fast way of measuring the alfalfa, because we cannot really go to a lab and try to measure like in a lab. We're trying to get something fast and easy. Okay, so what we did is we create an infrared technology to actually measure the water like in the alfalfa when the alfalfa got put into the containers, so we know how much water alfalfa had. It's actually, we got like really good results about this. So it's like we got really good patterns of like at certain amounts of humidity on water, the alfalfa got like actually better results at the end. But at the same time, it also requires a lot of calibration with atmospheric conditions and weather. The last step we took is taking this infrared technology, we tried to extrapolate it. So we went to satellites. Okay, now we don't need to put like devices actually on the containers, because the devices on the containers, they suffer like wear and tear and they need replacement and batteries. But we try to use satellites. Okay, so we got satellites twice per week. Okay, around like 13 different measures of the satellite about different bands, infrared bands, and we got also a lot of like possible like correlation with patterns and quality. Okay, but we, as I said, we need a lot more data. So we got data for like a couple like crops and a couple years, but we need a lot more data to actually be able to say these patterns are actually indeed what we're expecting to get. Just an idea, so you get a satellite image. Okay, so all the satellite image is around like 650 megabytes of information, and we have twice per week for like around like 1 month, a month and a half. So the second project I'm going to talk about is like, now we have the food, now we're going to get the cows. Okay, so there is a problem in extensive bovine farming. So in extensive bovine farming, the farmers, they take the cows, okay, and they put them in a really large field. So they leave them, go in a mountain and live alone. So those cows are difficult to control. So we need to monitor like where they are. We don't want cows to get lost. And also the farmers, the problem they have is they need to spend a lot of time going around the mountain trying to actually find the cows. So we develop a system to GPS track the cows. Okay, but this system, as easy as it seems, because we have now cell phones, when you go to a rural area, it's not that easy. So first, energy. We need batteries. Where do we get the energy? Where do we get like long enough batteries to actually have the devices to work for long periods of time? So we had to use like solar energy. Durability, we put things into the cows, and the cows are actually really heavy and they're really strong. So every single device that you put into a cow, like, expect to get hit and like, and pretty much destroyed. The last problem we had is, as I said, networking. How do we transmit data? We have no 2G, we have no 3G, we have no Wi-Fi. I don't know, probably with the smoke, probably. So we had to actually develop a specialist technology to actually be able to transmit all this data. So I'm gonna show you a few prototypes of what we did. So those are like more or less the boxes that we did to put everything together. So, and as you can see, this is like a final prototype of what we did. So we did collars that actually have like a solar panel. Okay, and it has an antenna and a small battery inside it. So it was able to last for like it was actually able to last for months, and to make it quite resistant too. But as you can see, this is like after being used for like a little bit, it's destroyed, it's smashed. So yes, that's something we had to be like really careful about. Another big problem we have, as I said, is antenna. Okay, so we had to not only buy specialized hardware, but also indeed we had to develop specialized algorithms and communication protocols to be able to do low energy consumptions communications through a really long range like network. Okay, so we had to use things like a peer-to-peer network. So where, for example, multiple devices were able to communicate between each of them, okay, and send signal between each of them. Okay, so we don't need like a central antenna. Okay, each of the devices was actually able to act as a sender, as a receptor. So making the network like way more like larger and way more stable. So the results, as you can see, is like we have our beautiful cows with the collar and they're happy and the mountains farming. And meanwhile, we were actually tracking the cows and seeing how our result was doing. And we're actually able to track the cows for like 6 kilometers. Last thing is we're doing, this is actually our current project. So we're doing a price prediction, AI-based price prediction. So now we need to actually make the meat from the cows to our houses. Okay, so what we do is they always is to have a group of experts that set the price of the meat. This group of experts, they make a decision based on their experience and fears and expectations, but there's no real math behind it. So there's no real formula, okay? And we have this project of using AI to actually make it like better. So we identify the variables, we created like an artificial intelligence like algorithm, okay? And then we compare it with others and we integrate it with the platform, with our platform to actually show the people who are making this price. So you can see here the data from like different markets between Spanish national markets and international markets. So we got like 5 years of weekly prices. Okay, so we filter the data, we correlate the data. So we had to analyze first all the data, and then we create a machine learning algorithm using LSTMs and recurrent neural networks, okay, which are actually indeed used for time series. We train our network using different like parameters. So we try to see which factors are actually impacting the price, because we actually don't know. We have a lot of data. We don't know if all this data is useful or not. At the end, the idea of this is we get a prediction. So you see the blue one and the green one is the real one. The red one is our prediction. And that's actually our forecast of like pricing of meat, which is pretty accurate for like a first approach. And the last time is actually we're developing a platform, so it's like people who make these prices can actually see our results in a fast and easy way, because we also need to adapt our technology for people who use this technology. And the idea, this is the future work that we're working on, it's not only be able to present the results, but also get a feedback, okay, to our network about how this network is performing. So we know if this network needs to be like more adjusted to actually people who are doing this this price setting. So we need to know if it's doing like more or less. So yeah, thank you. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Do we have any question online? Do we have question online? No? Question here in the audience?